like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geeks Show. I want to remind everyone to tune in to our live show, stogiegeeks.com/live, for a chance to win. On every show, there is a chance to win a Stogie Geeks Smoke Naked T-shirt. I almost said Smoke Naked cigar. Yeah. A Smoke Naked T-shirt and a cigar of our choosing. Will, what did you want to give away for? I think last week we gave away the AJ Fernandez New World. Did you want to give something different away?
Do I give away? Why don't we give away one of those Habanos?
The Habanos.
It's just the unopened box.
Okay.
San Latano, yeah.
San Latano Habanos. Yes, one San Latano Habano cigar and a Smoke Naked T-shirt. Yep. And we have all sizes available. So make sure you email the show at stogiegeeks.com. And as soon as the show ends, you'll get the question. You email in. And it's a first in, first out kind of contest. So first one to email us, and we reward our live viewers with that small contest. And there are other contests that you can win larger prizes, which go across. That is more a lottery system. So however you listen to the show, you enter into a lottery. We pick a random winner for some of the larger prizes. But every show, you can win a cigar and a T-shirt. So
yep. And show us your Smoke Naked shirt.
Yeah, Smoke Naked shirt.
Smoke Naked shirt and 24 hours at Stogie Santa.
In 24 hours with Stogie Santa.
I'll tell you what.
We'll fly Stogie Santa right out to you.
Life will never be the same.
So, Will, you put together the Debonaire Ideal segment for this week. I'm very excited to talk about your topic. I really like it because it's interesting you chose this subject, Will. I was traveling this week, and I had a conversation on this very topic. So
wow, and we didn't even talk about this.
We didn't even talk about it, so go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been inspired by some of these things by real-life experience. And it was, I was at a cigar dinner a few weeks ago, and basically, to just make it simple, I had a cigar, and it was a cigar, you were able to smoke cigars, it was a cigar dinner type of thing, so there was I wasn't disrupting anyone with smoke or anything, but basically, I got to the table, and in a nutshell, I made a mess. I ashed all over the white tablecloths. And after that, I'm like, well, what could I have done better, besides just being careless? But it kind of got me thinking, when you're eating and having a cigar, there are ways you can be, a little more, debonair. And, whether you're getting served at a table or whether you're going up to the buffet. Now, have you ever tried going up to a buffet holding a cigar and a drink in your hand?
It's interesting you say that, Will.
Yes.
The cigar events from Mr. J's Havana Smoke Shop, where Stogie Santa works, at Melanzi's in the winter, first Monday of every month, right? There's a buffet dinner. Mm-hmm. And I when you said that, I had to think, I'm like, I don't think I've brought my cigar up to the buffet when I've gotten food. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there have been people that have done it, and it may be unintentional as well.
Right.
Yeah, because you have it in your hand and you're walking around and you walk up and you're like, oh, I got my cigar and now So what do you do? I mean,
it's a simple thing.
I mean, you don't want to hang it out of your mouth with the ash hanging over the buffet.
You don't want to put it in the food. And Coop made a good point. How can you be a little bit more debonair
about it? I would say leave it at the table and try and be conscious of that.
No, it's very simple. It's a debonair thing. You ask the waitress, "Go get my food, please," and bring it back to your table. That's the debonair way of doing it. Yeah, that's it.
Saves me from having to get out.
Right, because I can't personally. I'll screw it up.
I could ask my wife to do that.
Oh.
Yeah, let us know how that goes.
Have her call mine, will you?
Let me explain how it works at the Coop's house.
Yeah, right. Go get it yourself. That's how debonair works. Anyway,
sorry.
Are there things you do at the table? So obviously, try not to bring it up when you go get food. I think it's a good tip. But are things you do at the table while you're eating to be a little more debonair? And you said, try not to make a mess, which is a hard thing. Like, you've seen me on the show. I ash all over myself all the time.
I never had that issue.
Yeah, I am who I am. So.
Yeah, no. It's just that, it's amazing. We have two ashtrays. And, Coop, something tells me when you ashed on that table, you had an ashtray. Is that correct?
Yeah, and you want to guess what kind of ashtray it was, though?
What was that?
It was one of those little silver glass, not silver, those little clear glass ones that really were meant for cigarettes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not your fault.
Great point.
Not your fault, right there.
Not my fault.
Not your fault.
No.
It's just excuse me, ashtrays and cigars and people and a guy is like a guy asking for directions. We don't do either one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, how often do you use an ashtray? Seriously, you know what I mean? Oops, I'm sorry, and you drop it. And what do? You keep on going. You wait till the next big ash and it hits the floor.
Yep.
No,
it's true. It's true. We all
I'm not
do
trying
it.
to be rude or
I know, but we all do it. I was at a sales meeting this week in Florida for my day job, and outside there was no ashtrays. Now we were at a pool area, and it was kind of in the back of my mind, like, oh, I'm just going to ash right here in the pool area, and you kind of don't give it a second thought, and you're like, I should have been more debonair and asked the hotel staff to provide ashtrays for us.
So
it's Florida, so they're humidors inside the hotel where you can get cigars. So they're very cigar friendly, especially in Florida.
Extremely so.
And it would have been fine if I had asked for an ashtray. And it might have been a cigarette ashtray, but at least that's better than no ashtray.
Right. That's
So
I ash in a pool quite. I do that quite.
It happens.
Yeah, it is.
It happens.
So let's get back to your original question, Coop. What could you do to be more debonair at that table with a cigarette ashtray? So what would you think you could have done to correct that situation?
I don't think I needed to take a 6x54 Toro there when I maybe had some other options.
No,
maybe like I just smoked the coffee break size of that Nestor Miranda, that 4.5x50, something that's a little more manageable, that it's smaller, it's not going to make a mess. You're not, the longer sometimes you burn a cigar, the looser the ash I find it gets too at times.
Yeah. No,
so, as far as that goes. So something maybe, a little, how I understand you want to enjoy a cigar at dinner, but really my thing is I want to enjoy that cigar. I want to have that after dinner cigar. That's the one I'm really going to focus on at that point.
It's so funny you say that, and I think I do this not thinking about the ash, but you have that whatever, if it's a cigar dinner or a regular dinner or buffet, I always have a small smoke so I can enjoy that before I go up. I'm trying to get that half-hour smoke.
Do you try to avoid smoking while eating? That's something I want to cover.
I just don't like doing that. Personally, for me, it doesn't mix.
So I was talking with the CEO of my company, and we got on this subject of, do you smoke while you eat? And I'm the kind of guy, I'm like, I smoke while I eat because I can't put my cigar down, and I often don't manage it well, like you said, and have a smaller cigar before dinner and then eat dinner and have another cigar afterwards. I tend to smoke right through while I'm eating, and not everyone can do that. Not everyone enjoys that. And what
does it depend what you eat?
And it depends what you eat. And so what my CEO was saying was, he's like, I just don't enjoy the cigar with my steak dinner. And I'm like, I kind of enjoy the cigar with my steak dinner. And I told him jokingly, I'm like, but like Chinese food and cigars just doesn't go together.
No.
Even after you eat Chinese food, there's still it just doesn't go together.
I feel like I'm looking at an ashtray.
Yeah, but a steak dinner, I enjoy a cigar while I had a steak dinner, but some people can't. And I guess maybe secondhand smoke is a kind of a different thing. If we're having a steak dinner together and I'm enjoying my cigar while I eat, I don't know if it interferes with anyone else's enjoyment. I guess for all cigar smokers, probably not so much.
My favorite thing to smoke, the only thing I really smoke with when I smoke is seafood.
Really?
I love seafood and smoking. It's
interesting. So I guess it's personal preference. That's a good point.
See, when I have a big steak, I got to have a big glass of Cabernet.
Yeah,
a
big
glass of wine.
No cigar. You just like your wine and your steak.
Give me a wine like that. And
don't mess with it, because those flavors, I agree, go together so well. Don't mess with it.
For me, personally, don't you think it's a very personal decision?
Because with seafood, I much prefer a nice light beer, cold, lighter beer with my seafood. Yeah. And I probably wouldn't have a cigar with that. But with a steak, I would have a cigar.
I love that. Summertime, when it's it's hot, it's outside, big glass of nice Belgian beer. Belgium
beer goes well with cigars.
Anything,
though. That's a good pairing.
It really does. But it's hard. the bottom line, I don't think it's a cigar. I don't think it's a dinner. We're just guys. We're sloppy.
We're
I mean, we're trying to be debonair. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's. I think
it's hard to be debonair on this subject of eating, drinking, and smoking, right?
Really
like you said, we're guys, and it's gonna.
My debonair experience is smoking that cigar. You know, and everyone's different, so it is what it is. But
I just felt bad when when you get ashes on a white table, not only does it look bad, it just, it kind of, I was worried I was going to interfere with other people, maybe if they're moving condiments around or something like that. So I wanted
I see what you're saying, though, Will. You've got ashes on the same table that you're eating is not very
about the situation.
Yeah. Try and have a cigar ashtray would be my tip.
Yeah, how about that? See, I'm always the devil's advocate. Then you get some guy who's got his food all over the table. I don't want to see that.
Well, that's a good point. No,
I'd rather see an ash than someone's,
food, drink, crumbs everywhere. Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, if you remember, we did the Padron interview. They forgot to bring ashtrays, and George Padron was kind of very. I don't want to say he was upset. He understands that sometimes things happen, but he definitely understood the need to have right ashtrays there.
No, that's a good point.
That's the best way to use it. Cognizant of what your situation is.
Yep.
So it is what it is. It's a. That's what I find about. Honestly, talking about being debonair. Do you ever see someone who has a cigar? They'll ask you before they light up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to get? Is this where you notice with a cigarette smoker, it's almost automatic?
Yeah, they just light up.
They just light up.
Yeah.
And I bet you very few times, and I'm not trying to I am generalizing here, but very few times a cigar smoker is told to put out their cigar because they're inconveniencing someone.
Right.
And usually if they are, they're not being very considerate to begin with.
No. But to get back to Florida, you talk about a smoker-friendly state.
It is a very smoker-friendly state.
I was so it was those I just wish that could be
more prevalent in other states. No, I agree.
Exactly. It's getting look at Virginia, Kentucky. Look, I mean, look what's happening down there with the smoking laws. It's getting crazy. Even down south.
New Orleans.
Oh, don't
New Orleans.
Guess what? Stogies Santa is going to show them Rhode Island hospitality down there. Oh yeah, that's going to be an interesting scenario.
I want to say the Smokes of the Week this week is brought to you by our sponsor, Age Selects. Age Selects provides cigar enthusiasts with premium long filler cigars aged at least 5 years at an extraordinary price. The expert buyers at Age Selects go to the factories of major cigar manufacturers and buy cigars that have been aging there for years. The team at Age Selects inspects them, smokes them, and packages them up to ensure you're getting the best quality smoke. The best part is they're provided to you at an affordable price on their website, cigarfrontier.com. So, Will, I want to turn it over to you first to talk about your smokes of the week. I know you're a little under the weather. I hope you have a couple prepared. Stogies and myself, both having mentioned we went to Florida, we're a little sparse on our smokes of the week, but we've got some stories to share. But I want to start with you and maybe talk about some formal reviews.
Yeah, not only did I get I still got 5 cigars in this week, and then I have an accessory thing we could talk about if we want. It was only one day I was down without cigars. So this week I kind of went back into I haven't really been smoking a lot of Viaje lately, and it's simply been an availability thing where the shop I used to get them at just is not getting the Viajes anymore. And I went on a witch hunt because there was one cigar. Lately I've not been on these witch hunts, right? I've kind of there's enough out there. But I did want to get this cigar, and it was the Viaje Farmer Bill Hatchet, which was one of the Thanksgiving releases that Andre Farkas did. This was a new one, and it was a box press Churchill that he did with a Nicaraguan Criollo wrapper. And actually, I got to thank Logan from Cigar Federation, who gave me the lead from his store that had them, because I could not find them anywhere. They were quite limited, and anyone who got them sold them very quickly. So this was kind of, like I said, it was a different cigar. It was, I think Andre this year, there's 2 things that I think he did well this year. I think he got some cigars that he released that he proved he doesn't necessarily have to do the full strength, full bodied stuff. And I think he's done some releases that have been in that wheelhouse, and this one I'd say falls into that category. It's a medium to full cigar in terms of strength and body. So, not a powerhouse. And I think he's had more consistency. This cigar, I smoked through about 5 of these. So I had a lot of these. They all smoked real good. I mean, the burns were consistent. Combustion was as good a Viaje as I've had. The flavors were good on this cigar. A little bit woody, more of a woody flavor profile. But it had a nice cinnamon spice to it almost, which made it very pleasant. A little bit of cherry sweetness and pepper. It's a little bit pricey at $11.40, but I like this cigar a lot. And I would put this one at since their box is at 10, I'd put them at a box split.
Nice. I was at as I said, a sales meeting in Florida this week. So I have a very different list this week than most weeks. I was there with a lot of fellow coworkers, most of which I would definitely consider friends. And it was interesting, the request from some of my coworkers who know that I'm into cigars, and many of them know that I do the cigar show and podcast as well. Gave me the mission of, Paul, when you come to the sales meeting, you got to bring some cigars. And there's one other person, Steve, who's also a very big cigar geek. In fact, Steve and I have been friends and also friends through cigars for some time, even before we started the show. So Steve had one of those ammo cans. Have you ever seen the ammo? It's an ammo can, but it's a humidor. No. I had seen them like online. I've seen pictures of them. I'd never seen one in person. It's not very classy because you're walking around with this ammo can. But I have to say, when I opened it up, it's lined with beautiful Spanish cedar, and it's got kind of a divider in it. I was really impressed. Like, plenty of room for humidification devices, beautiful Spanish cedar lining inside of it. And the nice part about the ammo can is it's very functional in terms of, like, your cigars are not going to get damaged in there. I mean, provided they don't shake around a lot in there, like, nothing is touching this ammo can. You could drop it off your balcony, and your cigars are still going to be fine.
It's the square one, right? Was it the Amador?
It's the Amador, yeah.
Those are great.
Those are pretty cool, right?
What is it, Amador?
Amador. It's like a military-style ammo can, and they bought the surplus or whatever, and they lined them with Spanish cedar.
Talking about being genius.
Yeah.
They donate back, actually, to an organization called Hope to Warriors. I'm familiar with them, and it's a nice product.
Yeah, that was really cool. So I thought that was cool. I smoked I bought a box of the 85th Naturals. I think I bought that in Mr. James.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I lit one of those up, and the flavors that come from that cigar.
It's so fun.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Wow.
I can't believe you said this.
Now I got to go back and smoke the Maduro as well. But I tell you what, these 85th Naturals, just burn-drawn construction is flawless. The flavor experience is outstanding. Age has been very kind to this 85th, because when the 85th blend first came out, I was like, it needs a little more age, in my opinion. And after however long that age has settled out on these cigars, it was just a beautiful experience. The flavors that I got were just awesome. Awesome.
I took that to Florida. What I found when I first smoked that cigar, personally to me, it was a little unbalanced and too cedary for me. Now, that thing is I'm very choosy with the natties for me, in particular, on the Padrones. That cigar, as age has done extremely well with that cigar. Extremely well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
Will, back to you.
So continuing my Viaje kick, I was going through the Thanksgiving releases, so you could tell I'm a little behind, but I smoked one of the stuffed turkeys that I've mentioned. The first one I'll talk about is the dark meat, which is, if you're not familiar with the stuffed turkey, it's a Gordo line that Andre released in 2011. And he's got a white meat and a dark meat. And the dark meat actually was introduced in 2012. It's got the San Andreas Maduro wrapper, which Andre typically uses, along with the Nicaraguan binder and filler. It's a 5x58. They were originally released as 5x60s, which was Andre's first 60 ring gauge, but he took it down to 58 with 2013. I've always liked the dark meats more consistently than the white meat. This one didn't really wow me as much. I mean, normally I'd probably say it's a box split. This one was more of a fiver. It had notes of dark chocolate, cherry sweetness, black pepper. It had a nice tobacco undertone to it, but it just seemed like it was missing something. that I've had in some of these other Maduros that Andre's done. You know, it also did need a little bit of TLC with the burn. So this was one of the Andre cigars, maybe, but it wasn't terrible burn. It just, I don't know if it was at Paul syndrome level either, but
it was a touch up or
I had to touch it up a lot.
I can't.
And I'll talk about another cigar from Andre, which I didn't have to in that size. So it was just a little more of a nuisance of it. But, I mean, it was a good cigar flavor-wise. It's a $10 cigar. I mean, I put it, I do like a lot of the Viaje Maduros. I'd still put it at a $5. I thought it lost. The other thing I'll just say is I thought it was a little less complex than some of the previous releases. I've talked to Andre, and he said with these yearly releases, the blends tend to be the same, but the vintages change. And he said it's natural. Sometimes you're going to like one vintage better than another. So, I mean, that could make some sense. Yeah, we've seen that with other lines as well.
On the Viaje kick, it was funny you mentioned Viaje. Excuse me, please. I took the Let It Down to Florida with me. When I first smoked the cigar, what I found was a little too salty for me. I don't know if you had that experience. I'll tell you what, this cigar is smoking. Revisit that cigar.
The leaded?
Yes.
You think saltiness is something that dissipates a little with age?
Well, I'm going to tell you
sometimes
what.
it can increase with age, I found, too. I've had some Davidoffs.
See, what I found, what it did for me, I had it became more balanced. Like the citrus came through a little more. Mm-hmm. And I just really I tell you what, that cigar is a lot better for me.
Which one is this again?
The Let It.
Viaje Leaded?
Yeah. It's really, I'll tell you what, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that smoke much more than when I first I forgot where I got. I think they got them on Good Karma. I think I got it off in Texas, I believe, or wherever it is. Yep. And I first got them. I thought they were okay, a little bit unbalanced for me at the beginning, and the saltiness was just right on my tongue. It didn't, but I knew within time. And then this is last week I smoked it, and I really that cigar. Did you smoke that, Coop? And
I'm totally in sync with you on this. That the leaded has come into its own. It's got that. So Paul, it's an Exclusivo blend. It's one of Andre's Exclusivo blends.
Yeah.
But he's put the Medio Tiempo in there, that high priming leaf.
Right.
So
in the filler, in the filler.
Okay. So here's what happened. Andre gave me one at the 2013 show, and he told me to sit on it. I smoked that one he gave me at the show right before the leaded came out early last year. It was fantastic. Then I got some of the leadeds, and I was like, I kind of was let down a bit. But I had a few extras left over, and when I smoked those leadeds again, they were smoking like the original one that Andre had given me that aged. So I do agree, and I find Stogie saying that Casa Fernandez tobacco, which is that Aganorsa tobacco, it needs time. And it's not just Andre's blends. I'll say it with some of Dion's blends and some of the Casa Fernandez stuff. But it does really come around because it ages real well.
And I'm not saying it's a powerhouse, but I found that the strength as I kept smoking.
No, I agree.
It builds up, and I just love the way it did it. The leaf placement in that cigar was amazing because it just took it right up. Some cigars can, for me, as I get older, the spice levels and strength levels. I mean, I did that all when I was younger. This one just slowly walked into that cigar, and I'll tell you what. I went from just about a $5 to box worthy. That's my assessment on that cigar.
I'd put it right at the same level. I
really very much enjoyed that cigar. It's amazing. I know all cigars age differently, but when it comes to the Andre stuff, it just seems to get better with age, more so than the average cigar, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think it's that Aganorsa tobacco. Mm-hmm. I really think it is.
And I think the percentage of what you use has a lot to do with it.
Yep.
I remember. Excuse me. Go ahead.
Yep. No, you go ahead.
No, with Casa Fernandez, I'll tell you what. They got some great tobacco. They really do have some fabulous smokes.
Yeah. I agree.
I brought with me one of the Tatuaje Black Label Corona Gorda. They call it Corona Gorda jar release?
Yes.
Corona Gorda jar release, which was my #1 cigar of the year 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And these are they're holding up so well. I mean, it's just, they were so good when and it's not every cigar I can say this about, right? That they're off the charts when they first come out. They're off the charts when you smoke them 3 months. They're off the charts when, what is that, almost a year?
Oh,
now?
it is. It's fabulous.
And they're still off the charts. It's such a clean flavor that you get from them. There's nothing that gets in the way of that flavor.
Way to put it, clean.
I really enjoy that kind of clean flavor profile you get from these cigars. They have an easy burn-drawn construction. They smoke very easy. They burn kind of quick. I almost look at them as a shorter smoke, even though it is a Grand Corona. But I lit this one up. I think it's one of my second cigars of the night, and it delivers in that flavor department. That's such clean flavor. I really like it. Really like it.
And again, I smoked a little bit when I was down in Florida. There's two cigars that I'm falling. Coop and I are kind of like on the same page with San Andreas. Right now, my satin glove is my cigar to smoke with San Andreas. That cigar.
That's a San Andreas on there?
Yep.
Yep.
I like that one.
That is unbelievable.
Talk about a San Andreas. It's all about flavor,
oh,
right?
Oh, I'm telling you, that cigar to me is one of the most, if not the most underrated cigar that's out there.
It's the best box press to come out of Pepin last year, no matter what anyone says.
Thank you.
I know what anyone says.
You took the words right out of them. I can't agree. And the other one, I'm telling you, and I just don't want to quote them. I was talking to Casey. I think they weren't expecting it, but the tramp stamp is another one.
Oh, yeah, the tramp stamp is a fantastic cigar.
I can't stop smoking that cigar. It gets better each and every time I smoke it. It's I tell you something. Casey's done a great job, and the team, my father and Surrogate's line. My hats are off to you guys. Everything they've done, I just enjoy it. I really. What the hell are you mixing up?
It's tea.
I thought you put tea in your bourbon.
No, separate glass.
Okay,
separate
I'm
glass.
sorry. Excuse me, please.
No worries.
But it's just I really do, and I'm not just blowing smoke up anyone's nose. It really is. I enjoy that immensely. I truly do. And again, you know how I hop on a combustion rate. That has everything to do for me. And I'll tell you something. That was my own top 10 list. I put the satin glove in my top 10. Not many people
I can't
did.
Dispute that. No, but
I love it. I love
it. Yeah.
It aged very good. I mean, I had one when I went up to Rhode Island, and I really saw a difference when you gave me that one up in November.
Yep. And, like I said, San Andreas is everywhere, and everyone does a little something different with it. So, hats off.
Will, back to you.
So, I actually smoked the other. This is the last viaje. I went for the whole Thanksgiving feast, and I went for the white meat one. Now the white meat one's a blend I haven't had real love with. It's been for me. In terms of this is the Nicaraguan Criollo wrapper one. It's a Nicaraguan Puro. Again, it's in that 5x58. But I figured, I was getting the others. Let me get this one as well. And for the most part, it's been the same blend for the last 4 years. This one I found actually to be the best of the four. Again, it's completely different than the Farmer Bill Hatchet and the Dark Meat. This one had, what I'll say is, there was a really interesting, tangy spice to it. And normally I hate that on a cigar. But this one, it wasn't overpowering. It had this sweetness to it, that it was interesting. And I've gotten that tanginess on the other stuffed turkeys, and that's kind of why it really turned me off. But this one was nice. It's about a medium to full bodied strength and body, medium to full in strength and body. Probably the best one I've had. I'd still put it at a 5er. I'm not going to go higher than that. But this one, like I said, this is one I would definitely smoke again. It was a nice cigar.
Really?
Nice cigar.
I did. So it was interesting. I was choosing cigars to take with me on my trip to Florida, as I'm sure you did as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I knew I needed to take some that I needed to hand out to people who were of kind of mixed experience. Some more experienced cigar smokers, some very, very new cigar smokers, and a lot of people in between, right? So, what do you bring? And I think this was I thought I had a good choice here. I bought a box of these cigars on auction. I wrote on the box, these are cigars you want to age. I wrote on the box April 2012. So they've got almost 3 years of age on them. And that's the Padron 3000. And I thought this was a perfect. So I got these for $4 per cigar on auction. And what's the price in this? It's not much more than
3,000, like the $550.
Yeah, so between $4 and $550 for the cigar, which I think. And if you buy a box at $550, you get usually a 10%. 10% discount. So they're roughly in that $4 to $5 price range. I'm blown away by that price because I tell you what, I put these down for almost 3 years. And you can put them down for longer, and they still hold up because we've had ones even longer.
They get better.
But at 3 years, I tell you what, there's not a lot of complexity in this cigar, but it gives you that wonderful smooth, right? 3 years gives it that smooth profile, very smooth, chocolatey profile that just delivers in every puff in the flavor department. I handed one of these to one of the VPs at my company. And you can smoke this right down to the nub. And he nubbed this cigar, right? And he's not, like an everyday cigar smoker like some of us are. And he really enjoyed it. And I lit one up the next night, and I was like, wow, these are so good. And I was just blown away that you can get this cigar for $4 or $5, put it down for 3 years, and have it deliver. In that flavor department, it becomes all about flavor. And it's definitely in that chocolatey profile. I would put it squarely in that flavor wheel of that chocolatey profile. There wasn't a whole lot of spice. Not a lot of pepper, right? It was just it was very smooth and very chocolatey.
Very silky smooth.
Yeah.
I think the best Vitola for me to age, the 6,000.
That's the Torpedo.
Yep. I'm telling you, I just have
a little pricier, and that goes back to our previous conversation, right? You pay a little more, but I agree.
It takes it's a more experienced type roller that's going to do this. And the 6,000, I'm telling you, you're going to think I'm out of my mind. You put about 5 years age on that, and all I did is, I don't know how this box got moved around in the back room, and I had no idea.
Fell behind the shelf.
Yeah, right.
Love it.
I had a half a box that was 5 years old, and I'll put it with an anniversary, the 64, and I'll put it right there. Different smoke, but it's that chocolatey, smooth.
That rich, smooth, chocolatey.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, man. Because a 64, smoke them when you got them. Don't age them.
No, they don't age that way.
They don't age.
No, they don't age that way.
They're already aged. That's what they're doing. That's out of the box. Knock it out. Don't sit there. I wouldn't say it becomes muted is the right word, but it just loses its flavor.
Loses its edge, I think, on the 64.
That's the best way. But yet the 26, I find ages better.
It does age a lot better. Yeah, I think that comes out a lot stronger. So I really loved my Padron 3000. I mean, that's boxed worthy all day long for me. Have some patience with this cigar. Keep it in your humidor. 3 years for me. Now, I didn't smoke it at a year, or I might have smoked it a year, and it definitely was not as good. I didn't smoke it at 2 years, but I tell you what, at 3 years, that's a good time to start smoking your box of aged Padrones. 3,000, 6,000s. What's the smaller?
Landres.
The Landres.
Yep.
Yes, that's another one too.
And
I have a box of those too. I think from around the same time frame. I'll review that for the next show.
And what you're gonna do? Another one. My second favorite in that line is the Ambassador aged. Oh,
that's like a Lancero,
like a Panatella. Almost.
Panatella. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep. And don't discount we haven't talked about that regular Padron line in some time.
We really haven't.
And it was just and I saw that I had the box. I'm like, these are perfect to take with me to gift to people. And like I said, I smoke one myself. Awesome.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
Will, back to you.
I smoked a Cuban this week, a couple of these. The Vigueros Mananitas. So the Vigueros, have you guys heard of this line?
No.
Okay, this got a big push by Cigar Aficionado actually back in April, and they're a line that's rolled in Pinar del Rio, and you may say, well, big deal, but so the deal is Pinar del Rio doesn't have a lot of rolling going on it. Most of the rolling happens in Havana.
But
so most of it's
Pinar del Rio, for those who don't know, is a region in Cuba,
right?
And Western Cuba.
It's one of the largest growing
right.
regions in Cuba. But they mostly, like you said, they mostly grow the tobacco there and roll it in Havana.
Right. So there's not a lot of it, but Vigueros is a line that they've done this for a while. They have a small factory out there to do that. And the thing is that I guess with this year they did a revamping of the line completely. So kind of what, we see a lot of that go on in the States. It went on down in Cuba. And I have a picture of it on the Stogie feed. They put a very modern-looking band on this cigar. And if you look at it, it's green, silver, white, and black. So I mean, it does not look like a Cuban cigar when you look at the packaging on this thing. It's very, very modern and just something very out of the ordinary. It's also a value-priced cigar. The size I smoked is about a 4x46 pyramid size, and it goes for about $6 if you were to go, buy it. I guess on the Cuban market, that's what it would translate to. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, I'm glad we were kind of touching on torpedoes. I find with the torpedo, the key thing is how they put that tip on it. And if they put a crappy tip on it, it's going to be a crappy smoke. But if the tip's on it pretty good, it's going to be a very good smoke. This cigar was a flavor bomb. I was blown away. I didn't expect much from this. It just had a lot of cedary notes. It had a nice natural tobacco flavor that actually it coated the palate really nice, this natural tobacco sweetness, which normally I don't get from a Cuban, where it coats the palate, kind of like a lot of Nicaraguan cigars would do. Even at the end of this cigar, and I smoked it twice, I got a little bit of that au jus at the end of that cigar. I don't want to say it was Debonaire, but it was,
That doesn't even look like a Cuban cigar.
No. It doesn't look like a Cuban.
We're trying to get that up on the video. I just sent a note to production, but Vegueros Mañanitas is how
I think you said it better than me.
That's how I would say that. And it's got that silver and green on the band.
You look close. It doesn't look like a Miami band.
I was going to say it looks like a Miami cigar like Nestor Miranda.
Like Nestor's.
It looks like Nestor's band. I mean, I hate to compare that, but visually, it definitely looks like that. And what was the size on this one, Will?
It's a 4x46.
That's cool.
I got to thank Seth from Seth's Humidor. He sent me a few of these, and he had told me to sit on them. So I was sitting on them for about 7 weeks. Mm-hmm. And he said they really get better with age. I was blown away by this cigar. It's a box-worthy cigar for that price.
What's the price on it?
$6 on the Cuban market. So I don't know what that would translate to.
No, that's
Cuban.
They vary. Yeah, the price is tough on the Cuban market.
I don't have a picture of the box, but the box is also equally as sleek. I mean, it's a very sleek pack.
It's weird because I think the reason we're looking at it like that is it doesn't look like a Cuban cigar band on there at all, right? At all. So hopefully we're going to try and get that up on the screen. So that's box worthy. That's interesting.
Like I said, for $6, and like I said, the nice thing is I just clipped a little bit of that pyramid off there, and like I said, that's a lot of these pyramids.
And the construction and burn and draw was good on it.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, I wasn't expecting much from this cigar. But, like I said, it was well made. And the thing is, if I clipped a little and it got really, if the wrapper started peeling or if it got soft, that's where I just and that's a lot of times why I just don't like bellicosos or pyramids or torpedoes, is when that happened. That didn't happen with these.
Interesting.
That red color is literally... There was no flash used on that picture.
We're going to try and get up on the screen. I'm going to talk about the cigar I'm smoking, and then maybe we'll come back to this one. So I'm going to buy some time for our production staff. I'm smoking the Laura Preferidos Maduro in the Corona size. And I tell you what, if I were to reach for something with a spicy profile, I would go for that Corojo. And we've talked about the Corojo spice in the past. This Maduro is such a different profile, right? I mean, it's very, very smooth. It has a much richer flavor, nowhere near as much spice. And, I hate to kind of compare the two, but those are the two I smoked tonight. Very, very nice flavor profile. I'm enjoying this one a lot more. And I think just my palate, sometimes that Corojo spice is a little overwhelming for my palate.
It's a time of day when you want to smoke that, too. At the end of the night, I think we all like to try to step it down.
Step it down a little bit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got that mid-afternoon.
Mid-afternoon, you feel like you need to wake your palate up. You want to smoke something a little spicier. But this Maduro ending the night is really, really going well. Really love the flavor on this cigar. And it's burning really well. So very interesting to smoke this Preferido blend in this different sizes. It very kind of different flavor profile. So I'm glad you're here, Stogie Santa. Manuel Anoa, I was telling him about the small Preferido. Is it the number 3 that's the smaller one?
Yep.
Yeah.
in that Maduro that had age on it. And I was
that
telling
thing,
him about you, and I said, Stogie said I loved that cigar so much.
I never put it down. I never put it down. I never made the ashtray. I ashed all over myself. I didn't give a shit.
Just unbelievable flavors in what he said is that in that Maduro Preferido number 3, he said we tweaked the blend for that size, and it sounded like he spent a lot of time tweaking the blend for that size.
Oh, whatever he did, that was an Oasis smoke.
Yeah, and I told him that too.
Truly, I tell you what, that talk about nubbing, and again, I think with people, it's that in the workplace, wherever you work and whatever, they think of change and they get a little nervous.
Yeah,
everyone does that. They'll go for a Robusto, they'll go for a Toro. And some people will venture into a 660. People look at either a Belly or a Figurado. What do? They get nervous with the size. You know, because like
that's a
Jason
short little
saying,
smoke, but
it is.
boy.
But they look at the price point and they're saying,
yes.
Oh my good. But they don't know. And this is where online sales. I'm not knocking it. That's not what it is. What it is. And this is where the B&Ms come in. Is be able to explain to them. You got to realize this smoke is totally different. It's like everything else. The best way I try to
smoke it slow, especially the small size. Smoke it slow.
It's like think of I always tell them, I said, restriction. If you get something this small and a pipe this small is going to take out so much air, and you get a big one, it takes the air out. And I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm trying to make them visualize that. Smoke it slow, clip it at the end, and just enjoy that cigar. And I think Bellicosos and Figurados, people they look at it and they just don't want to be bothered with it. It's out of my wheelhouse. It's expensive.
I want to go back to this Bellicoso smoke. This is the Vegueros Mañanitas. Mañanitas. We're going to try and put a picture up of that. There it is. Thank you, guys. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
And that's a Cuban cigar.
No.
With that band, you would say no way.
That looks like a knockoff, a counterfeit.
Yeah, like look at the band on that, and that reddish color is very compelling as well. And I'm blown away that's a Cuban cigar.
And they have a few other sizes too in that line. They're more smaller sizes that they've done, but yeah.
That's really cool. I want to go to an Opus X Corona. This is another one that I pulled from a humidor about 3 years of age. This was in my spring 2012 Opus X collection in my humidor. And the Corona size in the Opus X is just so awesome. It's so awesome. Even fresh, they're really awesome.
They are.
And now when I sniff the foot of this 3-year-old Opus X Corona, I get a little bit of cinnamon. It seems to be more of a cinnamon to me now. It's interesting. I handed it to a coworker of mine who's really into pipe tobacco, and I want to talk a little bit about pipe tobacco as well. But he's like, I've never had an Opus X before, and he's getting really into cigars. And the way he talked about pipe tobacco and the flavors and the burn, like he's really like a geek when it comes to tobaccos and stuff like that. So I'm like, dude, you got to try the Opus X. And I'm like, before you light it up, I said, I want you to sniff the foot. He sniffed the foot, and he said, I'm like, what do you get for a flavor? I'm like, there's no right answer, wrong answer, right? I'm like, what do you get? He said, I get raisins. I'm like, dude, you're totally spot on. Like, you're not off base, and not that there's any wrong answer, but yes, that raisin kind of sweetness definitely comes through in this. And I smoked one of these as well, and it was just awesome. It was just awesome.
That's the most important thing. A lot of people go with that first initial thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't overthink it.
Exactly. If you get a raisin, good for you. And if I get a prune, I shouldn't say prune, if I get citrus, it doesn't matter. It's your palate. Everybody's palate is different. And
the age just does wonders on this Corona, especially even at 3 years. I mean, you can age Opus longer than that, but he really enjoyed this cigar, and I smoked one, and I really enjoyed it. Well, I would say these are box worthy, and not a lot of all Opus for me is box worthy because it's tough to get some of those in fresh, and to have a whole box and go, I can't smoke these for 3 or 4 years, So I tend to buy Opus in smaller kind of chunks and then label them and age them. But this Corona, man, I would buy a whole box of these because they smoke so well at those different age points, and they're really shining in 3 years.
See, that's the whole thing I think people don't understand with Cubans, especially they stick out more than any other cigar. Cubans and the Opus X, they smoke them fresh, and they say, oh, they're good. And I've had numerous people at the shop saying, I just don't get what you guys are talking about. I said, I know it's hard to really, a lot of people, I wouldn't know the percentage, but a large percentage of the smoking population say, well, I haven't got the time. And Garrick, one of our regulars, right, I gave him an Opus X that was aged, and I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember which one it was. He said it was the best Opus X he ever smoked. I says, Garrick, that's 3 years old. And that's what happens. And you say to yourself, why? I don't have an answer for you. I really don't. It just develops the taste. And there's some, like the Fuente. I mean, it's really good. I like it like that. Put 2 years age on that, and that sweetness is mesmerizing. For a regular Opus, it's not a high-end Opus. It's not a big price Opus cigar. I can smoke them out of the box. They're really good.
Yep.
Couple of years on them. The caramel sweetness drives me wild.
I think that that leather kind of flavor is more prominent when they're younger. And I think that I like my friend Matt's description of the raisin sweetness. The raisin sweetness coupled with that leather, and it sounds like a bizarre combination, right? But that raisin sweetness with the leather and smoothness is really what makes Opus special. So, Will, back to you.
All right. My smoke of the week this week is another kind of unusual cigar. This one comes from Casada, and it's an extension to the Casa Magna Domus Magnus 2 line called the Trajan. So the thing about this cigar, it's got a real weird shape.
We're trying to get this one up on the video as well, Will. I'm challenging my... Oh, there it is. It's up on the screen now.
Yeah, and you want to go to the second picture probably to really see this.
Oh, okay. I didn't send him the second. Oh, I see. Oh, it is a weird shape.
It's a D. So it's pressed on one side, and it's rounded on the other three sides. So if you look at the footer, it's actually a D shape.
Yeah, I see what you mean by the D shape. That's it. It's like flat pressed on one side and then round on the other side. You don't get that from the first picture, but I see what you're saying in the second picture. And
right.
It's a and that's a 5.5 by 60.
Yeah, and here's the thing, because it's box pressed and it's kind of that. It's more like a 54 maybe, really. I mean, it really didn't feel like a 60 when I smoked this thing in my mouth. So they've done some interest. This Domus Magnus 2 line, I like what they did with this. So they had the Domus Magnus, which was a limited line, and they had this wrapper from Jalapa, and they couldn't get it anymore. So they found another wrapper, which I think they got pretty close to it. I don't want to say it's exactly the same, but rather than call it Domus Magnus, they said it's another line, and they've called it Domus Magnus 2. But this cigar, I mean, I didn't expect much. I like the Domus Magnus 2 line, and I like the Domus Magnus better. In general, I haven't been the biggest Casa Magna fan, but I like what Casa Magna's brought to the table because they brought a lot of when that original one came out, the Colorado, people can say what they want about it, but it introduced a lot of smokers into the market. So I respect the line for that reason. But this one was this was a stellar performing cigar. I mean, first of all, I didn't expect this cigar to do much with the weird shape. I had no construction issues. The thing burned. I should have put a burn picture in there because the burn actually had a little bit of a D in there. But great cigar. It has a nice chocolatey taste to it. That baker's spice you get. You get this sweetness. I mean, it's a unique sweetness that you get off the Domus Magnus. I always tell people it is in the wheelhouse of a little bit of that Pez candy that comes out of the dispenser, but it's not like a heavy candy sweetness. But it's really, really good. Medium to full in strains. It's a full-bodied smoke. The 60 ring gauge was a non-issue. I have these coming your way, Paul. I added this to my Chuck Norris. I love this stick. I went through a
4.5 fight Chuck Norris for it.
I that's the highest I've ever given to a Casa Magna.
Wow.
I've had others in this line, but
is this a limited run scoop?
I believe it is. They're coming out with 2 other shapes this year. Trajan's the name of a Roman emperor. They're calling it the 3 good emperors of Rome. They did some unusual shapes last year for some rotten emperors called like Caligula and Tiberius. And one of them was like a real elliptical shape. But they're going to be kind of rolling out the other 2 sizes later this year. So Yeah, they're doing
along those lines. Will we're a podcast, obviously, and I know a lot of people listen to other podcasts. Have you ever checked out Dan Carlin's Hardcore History podcast?
No.
Yes.
So some people have recommended that to me, and on my last trip on the way back, actually today, I listened for the first time to this podcast, and I think it was Mark Jr. that said and it's a history podcast, talks about history, and I'm not the huge military history buff, but I can appreciate history as much as the next person, but Mark Jr. said check out the series that he did on the Wrath of Khan, and he talks about Genghis Khan for like 4 or 5 different episodes. And, I'm into Chinese martial arts and some Chinese history and stuff like that. So this was a good place for me to start because I'm into like Chinese cinema, and it kind of had some overlap into some movies I've watched in the past. It is awesome. You talked about
it again? I don't mean to be
It's
rude.
called Hardcore History.
By what was his name?
Dan Carlin's.
I got to check it out.
Hardcore History. And I started with the Wrath of Khans. And the way he presents this material is unbelievable. He's got 2
podcasts.
Oh, really?
He's got another one, Common Sense, as well, which is a little more political based, which is a very interesting spin on modern topics as well.
Guys, do we have that D-shaped picture that I linked to the Casa Magna? No, still working on it. Okay, we'll come back to it. So I'm gonna do one of my other smokes. So this was so we're gonna put it up now. All right. So hold on. Yeah, there it is. So when we said D-shaped, I was like, what is he talking about? That's the D-shape. So it's flat on one side and then round, just like the letter D, and that persists throughout the whole cigar. So
that should be an interesting looking press.
Yeah, it makes that cigar, right?
It really is. It was a little tricky taking that picture because it is a rounded cigar, so it wanted to lean. That's why I kind of ended up putting it on a corner of a box to kind of just balance it a bit.
Yeah, that's cool.
But
awesome. Try Chuck Norris for him. That's pretty. I can't wait to try it.
Most of the Domus Magnus 2s I put between a box split. There's a couple that I put box worthy, but this one was the best one I've had. I really enjoyed this one a lot.
This next cigar I have is the Tatuaje Nuevas Reservas.
They don't have to, that's all you got to say.
So this was a gift only. I brought one of these with me because one of my coworkers, it's actually a couple. They both love cigars. They're both into pipes, and she is totally into cigars. And this is like one of her favorite cigars, and I brought one just for her. And before I even gave her the cigar, she comes up and she gives me a hug, and she's like, I want to just thank you for the wonderful cigars you share with me. And it's just really cool. I mean, because you guys know, it's primarily a male-dominated
it is what it is.
hobby, right? Yeah. It is what you got to call a spade a spade.
Right.
And so it's so refreshing to see her so into cigars, and it's really cool. And so I gifted her one of these, and she was, of course, very appreciative. It's one of her favorite cigars, but shows she has really good taste in cigars.
And know
right?
why? Because women have a better sense of smell than a man.
Absolutely.
And it's ironic you say that. Now, my wife probably smokes once a month, and it's amazing when I ask her what she tastes, and it blows me away.
Yeah.
And she is far from that. That, and those other, the daisy cutter.
You said that too.
Remember that?
And they're almost similar kind of. I mean,
it's a more fuller body with the daisy cutter, but
it's a similar kind of family of flavors.
I got 15 boxes of those in the back.
Really? I have a box and a half in my humidor. That's how much I love this cigar.
It's an awesome smoke. And get the regular line.
Yeah.
Age that.
We had some aged ones of those, and those are awesome too.
God,
that's the killer size in that.
It truly is. It's just awesome. I mean, it really. Everyone I've never met anyone that doesn't like this cigar.
Yeah.
Very few you can say that about, and any Vitola or any manufacturer of what they're going on.
Yeah. But, so that was cool. That was kind of a gift only. Now, so while we're on the subject, Will, I bought some H-Up and Magnum Cubans from 2005.
The 46.
Oh, yes. We were talking about these, yeah.
46s. Now, this is the same. We were talking about the same couple, right? So I gave Ron one of these H-Up Magnum 46s, and I'm like, dude, you just need to try this. Like I said, they're totally into cigars. So he lights it up, and I let him get a little ways into it, and I kind of look at him like, so what do you think of that one? He's like, the flavor profile is so different from the last cigar I had. He's like, it's so different from anything I've smoked. He's like, what is this? And I told him, and I'm like, I'm not saying Cuban cigars are better. I'm like, but, these are really good. So he hands it to his wife, and she takes one puff and immediately looks at him and just walks away. And she's like, you're not getting that back. And she was puffing on this cigar, and she did eventually give it back to him. And they were kind of sharing this cigar, and she was just enjoying this cigar. She's like, that is absolutely amazing. And they really love the cigar, so it's kind of like a great story about how you can. Now, I have to say, when I bought this box, 20% of them are plugged out of this box, but the ones that smoke good are absolutely amazing. And it was just really nice to be able to share that.
That's Cuban.
No, I know. That's why I'm laughing for that reason.
You know what? Speaking smoke of the week, going to Florida, I got the time and the weather to smoke. I got a 5-year-old, the RC 184s.
Oh, so you have some of with 5 years on them? Because I've smoked some with some serious age on them, and I swear that, and I still go back to, we said on the show before, I swear there's Cuban tobacco in that.
Oh, it's royal. It's a retro Cuban. Who knows?
Oh
my God,
those are awesome.
It made my whole trip on the way back.
And now, Stogies, if you look at everything in the Tatuaje portfolio, how much popularity, press recognition does the RC series get?
None.
None. Like, comparison to everything else that Tatuaje does, it's like none.
No, but it flies completely under the radar.
Completely under the radar.
And I'm telling you, that cigar is just. I'm gonna go. It's really, with the age, I'm going Chuck Norris. Without the age, it's box worthy.
Yeah,
wow.
No, I agree.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't put that out there very often, hardly at all. That cigar is just awesome. I had the Yamagata.
And for a large cigar, it's a large Salomon.
Well over 2 hours.
So it's 184 millimeters, right?
Then
and then they have a 233.
233, which I
is
didn't
just
like
too
as
big.
much.
I didn't like it. I smoked one of those recently, actually, the 233. And I just wasn't a big fan. But the 184, even for that big size, delivers in that flavor department. It keeps your attention for the whole friggin' thing. It's unbelievable.
And I didn't do this purposely. I said, what can we pair with this? I'm saying, and I'm going to Coop. Maybe you can. What's the name? There's a huge liquor store, and maybe Coop can help me. I told him the name and I forgot. It's right near Smoke Inn. And it's like the size of Walmart. I've never seen a liquor store as big.
I know what you're talking about because I go there a lot.
It's not Town, is it? Is it Town?
I don't remember.
The last time I was in the area, I didn't get out to that.
Don't strike Town away from it. Anyway,
I'll be down next month. So
they had
then.
one bottle. Again, Yamagata of the 12-year. We drank the whole bottle with that cigar.
because you got to go light. With that 184, the flavors are somewhat subtle. And I think you got to go kind of light on what you pair it with.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. With that maltiness of that Yamagata, whatever you want to call it, it just come out and it was totally a guess on what I was doing.
Yeah.
And it was just so. It was the epic time of the trip down there. It was incredible. It was
Will, do you? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, Stogies. Do we have more smokes, Will?
I have. Well, I'm done with smokes. I did want to talk about an accessory after the break. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take a break right now. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about an accessory. I'm going to talk about an accessory that I have, Will, that goes along with your accessory, and we're going to do the contest. So stay tuned. We're going to take a short break and come right back.